All right, my friends, we are going to go over guided notes example 2. Now, if you really wanted to use the formula that I had given you, if you needed it, you could always press back, and it is right here in the back in the next. You could always do that. Okay? Now, the CFS is also in the back. I'll actually probably fix that, though. Anyways, here we go. First thing is I'm going to review real quick what we did in the first example so it's really fresh in your mind. Okay, I need to stamp this in your minds. First thing is, it is super important to write down part, percent, and whole and identify the whole correctly because it's the original amount. And identify the part correctly. Now, because this question asks you for the percent decrease, the number that is going to represent my part is the decrease, okay? Now, if we were looking at the percent increase, the number that would represent the part is the increase. It is basically the same exact step. So we found the decrease by multiplying the initial value and the final value, which gives me 4. And what we ended up having was 4, which is my part, and I divided it with the whole, and we got 12.5%. Now, something that is really important that I also went over, just so it refreshes our minds, is that if I have a number, my divisor, which is the numerator, is smaller than my denominator. Oh my gosh. This is my dividend. So sorry. If I have my dividend, which is my numerator, and it's smaller than my denominator, which is the divisor, you are going to get a number that is less than 1. And what we talked about is that the total, which is 4, means that if I came to your homeroom and I said, hey guys, I have 4 cookies and I want to split these 4 cookies amongst all of you, which is 32 kids, okay? That you would all think I'm crazy. You'd be like, Miss Mustafa, what? You want to split 4 cookies amongst the 32 of us? We're all going to have like such a tiny piece. You would have less than 1 cookie. You wouldn't even have. You would have actually 1/8 of a cookie, to be precise. So anytime you see that your dividend is smaller than the divisor, you will have a number that is very, very small, a number that will be less than 1. Right? Because you're splitting 4 amongst a large amount of people. So your number will be very, very small. Now, here we go. This should be very quick since we went over the notes. What I did was I flipped to the next page because I write really big. Ooh! Oh my God. Sorry. Okay. First thing you should always do in your notes is write part, percent, and whole. Always. Now I'm going to read over this example. It says Jackson was so happy because he got a 94 in his last math quiz. Unfortunately, he did not study this week, so his grade dropped to a 91. What was his percent decrease? Now, do you see that? If it says what is the percent decrease, that means we need to look for the decrease from the first test to the second test. And the first question says, forgot the what, is the difference between the first test and the second test in points. So first we're going to just find the difference in terms of a numerical value, which is a whole number. And before that, we talked about how the CFS also first says that you need to make sure you identify the whole and the part correctly. My whole, as I said, is the original amount. So he originally, in the beginning, received a 94. His new score, or his new value, is 71. So the original is 94. Now the original total is always the whole. So the whole is 94. And we're going to write here the initial value. Now my part, because it asks for the decrease, in parentheses here, we're going to write decrease because that's what the question is asking me. That is something that you need to highlight when you are reading the problem, being like, oh, okay, if I'm finding the decrease, that's going to represent the part. So now I want to find the decrease. And what we know is that he went from a 94 all the way down to a 71, which means the decrease is going to be 23. So 23 points down. That's what it means. So my part is going to be 23 because that again represents how much his score decreased by. Now we're going to write our equation. The same equation we always write. The part equals represents the percent times the whole, and I'm going to substitute correctly. So this part is also very important. Remember that you are substituting the values that we got for both categories. First, we said that the whole is going to be 23, not 71. A lot of you guys did that on the test. It's 23. Be aware of what you're labeling. I'm going to put 23 equals the percent, which we don't have. That's what we're trying to find. So that's x times the whole, which is 94. Usually we're going to rewrite this equals 94x. And we want to get 1x, so we divide by 94. And this gives me 1x equals, we have 23 over 94. So remember, this is telling me 23 divided by 94. Imagine I have 23 cookies and I need to split these cookies amongst 94 people. Will each person get a whole cookie? Absolutely not. Okay, so you know that this number has to be less than 1. Okay, now I'm going to, oh my gosh, get my calculator. And we're gonna do, like we said, the dividend 23 divided by my divisor, which is 94. Okay, so what's gonna happen is you're gonna get this super long number sometimes. Totally fine. Now, you need to stop at the thousands place always. So we're just gonna stop right here at the thousands, which is the third number past the decimal. So what I'm gonna write is 1x equals 0.244 thousandths. Okay, now that makes sense. I'm gonna have a number that is less than 1. Absolutely. Nobody's gonna have a whole cookie over here out of these 94 people with my 23 cookies. No. Now what I'm gonna do is we're gonna round. And anytime you get a super big number like this, we're just gonna round to the hundreds place, which means if I look at the thousands place, if it is a number that is less than 5, this is gonna stay the same. If this is a number that is greater than 5, but it's not, because here in the thousands place I have a 4, then we round up. So what I'm gonna do is, I know this is gonna stay so sorry. This is going to stay the same. So this is going to equal 24 hundredths. We're just going to round to 24 hundredths equals 1x. And the last thing is I'm going to turn this into a percent, which is 24%. So what I'm going to do is make sure I type this. We know that the difference between the two scores was 23, and his percent decrease, his score, which makes total sense. What this means is, not 23%, his score went down 24%, okay? That's his percent decrease. That is a lot, okay? Which makes a lot of sense. So, last review, okay? You identify the whole correctly. The whole is the original amount. It's my initial value, what I started with. He started with a score of 94. It went down to 71. And what I did to find the decrease was subtracted my whole my initial value with my final value. This right here is my final value. That's his final score, which was 23. So my decrease is going to represent the part, and we have 23. I wrote my equation and I substituted correctly. I needed to find out what x is, so I divided by 94 on both sides to get 1x. We did 23 divided by 94, and we got this super long number. And what I told you when you get this is you're going to round to the thousands place, which is the third number passed behind the decimal. And if it's less than 5, then it's going to stay the same, so this would just stay as 24 hundredths. So we moved it to 24 hundredths to the hundredths place, and what we did was multiply it by 100 or 100%, and I got 24%. Now remember, on the independent practice, you must write percent. Let's not forget our units because this is asking you for the percent decrease. You are going to hit next. And now you got the independent practice. So again, what I told you is please remember to type in your percent. Do not forget to send me your notes. Good luck on the independent practice.